Archana ji, what happened? You're not there. You cannot open the mic? Wait.
Archana, this is Lucas with Kiko Chat. We're promoting you to panelist, so please look on Zoom for a message that says become panelist, and then your microphone. There we go. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me, Vishwa?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. So, should we begin the session or do we wait?
Yes, we are already late.
Right. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Meghna Knowledge Forum 2021. As we all know, Meghna River, the smallest river in the GBM Basin, but emerging as one of the most important and on which so many lives, livelihoods, and our species depend. So without taking too much time, I would, first of all, there are some housekeeping rules which I'll come to later. But I would like to invite quickly Sandra to give an introduction to the way to navigate around the forum. And then we'll start the formal proceedings. Thank you. Sandra?
Hello, this is Lucas with Kiko Chat. I'm happy to give you an orientation to how to navigate around the platform. I will share my screen with you. Thank you everyone for attending today. You are in the main room of the Meghna Knowledge Forum 2021, and you have clicked Join Zoom here. You can see all the people who are on Zoom with us. Here is an introduction video if you have any questions about what I'm going to be saying. The organizers of this conference have put in a lot of helpful information. When you click here, you will see the agenda. When you click here, you will see a flyer about this conference. The photo contest is happening here. Our graphic facilitators will be taking notes today, so the words that we speak will turn into drawings and pictures in a beautiful way right here. It will be very fun to watch. There is news about the Meghna River Basin here. You can see other tools and you're welcome to browse, such as a map. Here's a map of all the participants who are joining us here today. Here's a report, and here are several YouTube videos that you can watch. There are several side events going on today. If you want to go into side event room 1, which is called the River Game, Building Youth Awareness, that's going to happen at 15:45 Dhaka time, 22 June. And side event room 2 will be happening at the same time, how to operationalize transboundary cooperation in the Meghna River Basin. On 23 June, there are 2 other side events. When you go into any of the side events, click on it right here, and then the orange button at the top will say Launch Zoom for side event room 1. It's a separate Zoom meeting. Also, if you would like to network with any of the other participants and meet any of the participants, between the presentations, click Networking Cafe. This space will be always open. And this is a fun way to connect with everyone else. So you will click Continue here.
How we work in the Meghna Basin.
And then you will make sure that your video is working and click Join. When you enter the event space, you will be able to be on video with anybody who is close to you. So you can move from one side to the other, and whomever is close to you, you can see them and hear them. When you're ready to go back to the rest of the conference after meeting some participants, click here, All Rooms. And that will take you back to the event space. If you have any questions at any time, you can come back to the main room, or down at the bottom right, you can look for Tech Support Chat. That's right here. Thank you for your attention, and please let us know if you have any questions. The Tech Support Chat is the best way to get your questions answered.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that run through to navigate through the forum and to interact with it. I would now like to just explain to you the way we'll go through the inaugural session. So as explained already, the forum is organized as a 3-day highly interactive event interspersed with plenary sessions. May I request everyone to put yourself on
Archana ji, you are muted.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I don't know how it got muted. Right. So we have today the inaugural session. We have the following dignitaries with us today, gracing the occasion. We have Dr. Dindo Kampelan, the Regional Director for IUCN Asia. Then we have Ms. Asa Hejne, Counselor, Program Manager, Environment and Climate Change, Embassy of Sweden, Thailand. We also have our colleague, Mr. Vishwaranjan Sinha, Program Officer, Water and Wetland South Asia, who will be presenting on the Meghna Knowledge Forum, overall Meghna work of IUCN, and the agenda and objectives of the Meghna Knowledge Forum. We also have with us guests of honor today, Dr. Rajdeep Roy, who is the Member of Parliament in India from Silchar, Assam, Mr. Sabir Hossain Chaudhary, Member of Parliament and Chairman of Parliamentary Standing Committee from Bangladesh, Ambassador Ahmad Tariq Kareem. He was our ambassador to India and Director Center for Bay of Bengal Studies in Independent University, Bangladesh. And we also have Dr. P. Shakil Ahmed, Principal Secretary, Water Resources Fisheries, Government of Meghalaya, India. Apart from this, we'll also have vote of thanks by Mr. Rakibul Amin, who is our country representative from Bangladesh. So without any further delay, I would like to now invite Dr. Dindo Kampilan, Regional Director, IUCN Asia, to please present the welcome address. Dr. Dindo.
Thank you, Archana, and good morning, everyone. From IUCN Asia here in Bangkok, I welcome you all to this event today. And this is truly a milestone, considering that we have 15 national, regional, international partners together with us today. And this, as we overcome the limitations of COVID. Now, this work is made possible through the generous support provided by SIDA and Oxfam Trooper Program, and so through Ms. Asa Haidsni, the Counselor and Program Manager for Environment and Climate Change at the Swedish Embassy. Our sincere thanks for the invaluable support, and especially the trust placed on our teams and our partners in being able to deliver results, not just for this project, for BRIDS and the partnership, for the Asia region, and for IUCN overall. We must recognize that this knowledge generated from this forum today is of much wider significance to the IUCN, sharing with our other 93 state members, over 1,300 member organizations from national, subnational agencies of government, NGOs, even indigenous peoples group. Let us all remember that the whole of the IUCN is watching and eagerly anticipating to learn from our discussion today. This MKF once again demonstrates the IUCN's convening role in bringing together the best of science, of policy and practice in nature conservation and environmental management. For IUCN Asia, this MKF is a notable model for us in providing a learning exchange platform on transboundary water governance issues. Now, since 2018, IUCN has been facilitating multi-stakeholder dialogues and joint research in the Meghna River Basin, with the aim of strengthening the conservation and sustainable management of natural resources in this basin through inclusive basin-wide governance. This MKF is a celebration and valuing of the Meghna River Basin's remarkably rich cultural and natural heritage. The basin includes a number of protected areas of high conservation value, including the Knock Creek National Park in Meghalaya, which is a haven of biodiversity and is listed in the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. The basin also includes two very important Ramsar sites, wetlands of international significance, Tangwar and Hakalauki in Bangladesh. On a more personal note, and having just joined IUCN in the past months, I must say I've had the great honor and opportunity to be also personally influenced by the Meghna River Basin in my professional life. Over many years ago, I was based in India and working in agricultural research, aloe and other crops, and this particularly in the northeastern region of the so-called 7 sister states. And in working with communities in Meghalaya and in Assam, I saw for myself how important the basin is for the rural and agricultural livelihoods of people, such as for sustainable agricultural intensification and land health. And so my thanks to our partners from the government of Meghalaya and to our Principal Secretary, Dr. P. Shakil Ahmed, and to Assam as well, the state government and the Member of Parliament, Dr. Rajshri Roy. Having been afforded the opportunity to work in the northeast of India, this is the valuable experience I carry to my role now in the IUCN. I must say I was based in Delhi, and every opportunity to escape from the capital I would take to be able to enjoy the greener environments of India's northeast. Now, in the same critical role I've seen for the river basin in downwards to Bangladesh in ensuring the agriculture, food, and nutrition security of both rural and urban communities. I distinctly remember Chittagong down to Barisal, and most recently, Ablaik has been involved in climate mitigation and adaptation planning, especially on investment prioritization for climate smart agriculture. So it's my great honor also to finally meet, even virtually, the Honorable Mr. Sabir Hossain Sidori, whose work in relation to climate change I've read about in the course of the projects I've done in Bangladesh. You're having successfully initiated and promoted the amendment to the Constitution of Bangladesh, ensuring protection of the environment, also declaring climate change as a planetary emergency. It is my honor to meet you today. Now, most importantly, just remember that this MKF is more than just about us, you and me. This is about 50 million and more people in Bangladesh and India whose lives and livelihoods depend on the ecosystem services provided by the basin. So as we engage in this dialogue over the next days, let's remember that in our minds, in our hands, and in our hearts, we have a noble responsibility to help chart the future of millions of people, from the indigenous forest-dependent communities, such as in Kasi, in Garo, in Jaintia, to the fisher folks and the farmers, depending on the extensive wetlands, such as in Salit region in Bangladesh. And to a large extent, we are assured of an inclusive process and governance, thanks to the Meghna Advisory Group, or MEG, with representatives from government agencies, think tanks, CSOs working in the Meghna River Basin. And many of the members of MEG are here, and I particularly like to acknowledge the contribution, the presence of Ambassador Tariq Karim, who's also one of the guests of honor for today's inaugural session. Your contribution collectively as the MEG is very important in documenting the ecosystem services provided by the basin and in identifying benefit sharing and nature-based solutions. Results have shown that it is very important to look beyond negotiating water volumes allocated to different needs. The benefit sharing opens up dialogues to appreciate the range of benefits from the Meghna and how this can be distributed and shared among stakeholders. So we hope that this forum will strengthen all the participants' knowledge on the basin and foster the development of these unique partnerships. We also hope to communicate the outcomes of this forum more widely. And so we are thankful to our media partners, Channel I, Business Standard, Third Pole, for helping us share the messages from this forum to the general public and to our targeted case stakeholders in the public sector and beyond. So I would like to thank you once again for joining this forum. And I would like to end by reminding all of us that we are here because we want to deliver science to the human purpose. We want to conduct dialogue that leads into action. And we owe it not only to ourselves, to the people along the Meghna River Basin, not only to India and Bangladesh, but to the world, because it is our share in restoring the overall ecological balance and health of this planet. Namaskar, Assalamualaikum, keep safe everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kampilan. Thank you so much for your welcome remarks and your knowledge of the region, having worked in India for quite a few years. I think it will motivate us, all of us, in this work on the Meghna conservation, and also your emphasis on benefit sharing and use of nature-based solutions, which you are already utilizing in this project, will go a long way in ensuring the sustainable management of this Meghna River Basin. So thank you so much, Dr. Dindo. And now I would like to request Miss Asa Hejne. I hope, ma'am, I pronounced your name correctly. Uh, Ma'am is the Counselor, Program Manager, Environment and Climate Change, Embassy of Sweden, based in Bangkok, Thailand. Uh, Ms. Hejne, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. My name, I know I have a little bit of a tricky name. It's Åsa, and it's a Swedish name. So I'm used to a lot of different pronunciations. As was mentioned, I'm currently based in Bangkok, where we have the Regional Development Cooperation Office, and I've earlier worked in India, so I'm very happy to join this seminar today. This Meghna Knowledge Forum is a very timely initiative, in my view, to foster more basin-wide cooperation, involving governments, universities, civil society, communities, and the private sector. Meghna Basin is a less talked about basin in terms of regional water cooperation, but a very important one. The transboundary river is critical to the water and livelihood security of more than 29 million people in India and Bangladesh. And it supports some of the most biodiverse, rich ecosystems. Land use changes in the basin, coupled with climate change, have impacted the vital ecosystem services, and in turn, the livelihoods of communities dependent on the river system. Uncontrolled sand mining, along with coal and limestone mining, have been affecting the aquatic ecosystems, such as fish and other aquatic species, and has also contributed to water pollution and river erosion. The Meghna Knowledge Forum can be an effective platform, and I was very impressed by the technical setup that was earlier presented with the different facilities, videos, and ways to communicate and connect. And I think the platform can collectively look at some of these complex challenges the basin is facing, and also to capitalize on the opportunities through more basin-wide cooperation. Sweden would like to thank you for the opportunity to collaborate and contribute to this through the forum, through the Transboundary Rivers in South Asia program that we have supported for several years. I would like to congratulate Rosa and the partners, IUCN and Oxfam, for convening this very important and interesting forum. Environment and climate change, together with human rights and gender, are core to Sweden's regional development cooperation, which is being handled from our embassy in Bangkok. Other aspects as youth and biodiversity and the perspectives of the poor are other important parts. I'm happy to note that the forum deliberations cover very diverse topics, and it provides opportunities to diverse stakeholders, including youth, to discuss and collaborate. I would like to extend my warm wishes to the forum for great success, and I very much look forward to the forum outputs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for your welcome remarks, and for highlighting CEDA's support to this initiative through the Oxfam. And we hope for your continued support. So thank you very much. And now I would like to invite my colleague from the Asia Regional Office, Bangkok, Mr. Vishwaranjan Sinha, who is the Program Officer, Water and Wetlands for the IUCN Asia Regional Office, Bangkok, to introduce the IUCN work in the Meghna River under the Bridge GBM and the Oxfam TROSA project, as well as the Meghna Knowledge Forum, the idea behind it, the objectives, and how do we want to take it forward. So Vishwa, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me and can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes, we can.
So thank you very much, Archana ji.
Yes, go on.
Just one second. So thank you very much, and I'm very delighted to be here today and presenting the work of IUCN and specifically what we are doing in the Meghna River Basin. Really glad to be here with such a distinguished panel of guests. So I will quickly tell you who we are, how we are working, and some of the objectives of the Meghna Knowledge Forum. So IUCN is a unique organization founded in 1948. It is a membership-based union, but one of the important feature of this union is that we are composed of several organizations from civil society, governments, and even indigenous groups. What you see in front of us, the three pillars of work that IUCN has been doing since long: valuing and conserving nature, deploying the nature-based solution, and promoting and supporting equitable and effective conservation of nature. So these areas, program areas of work of IUCN actually contributes to a lot of sustainable development goals, as you can see in this graphic diagram here, including SDG 6, which is related to the management of water. We are very honored to be the only environmental organization with the observer status in UN General Assembly. I would also like to share with everyone, because a lot of stakeholders are today from Bangladesh and India. India is a member of IUCN represented by its Ministry of Environment and Forest since 1969, and Bangladesh is a member since 1973. So we have a long history of working in this region. So coming back to shared river basin, what we call like Meghna River Basin is one of the shared river basin, a basin which is shared by more than 2 countries. So as a part of Bridge GBM program, Building River Dialogue and Governance in the Ganga-Brahmaputra Meghna Basin, we have initiated work in the Meghna. So here you see in this part, IUCN through its Bridge GBM program is working in the Ganga-Brahmaputra Meghna Basin, but through the support of SIDA and Oxfam TROSA program. But it is a part of a larger initiative. We have a raised hand from Dr. Rajdeep. Thank you for being here, sir. You will be speaking just after this. So I'm just providing a quick background on what we are doing. So going back to our work in the shared river basin, we work through a larger program of IUCN called Bridge, which is active in more than 15 transboundary river basin. In Asia, you can see we are present in the 3 basins, in Salween, in the 3S basin, which is a tributary of Mekong, and the GBM, and Meghna is a part of it. So our approach basically is to improve cooperation using hydro diplomacy and technology, technological cooperation as a tool to build common vision and consensus among stakeholders for joint action. So this diagram basically, the site gives you a very brief picture on how we see things working in terms of cooperation. So we're creating evidence, consolidating evidence, using those evidence and information to catalyze training, catalyze dialogue, build capacity, use this information to generate learning and communication to influence agreements and institutional processes at different levels of governance. So that was a bit of a background of how and where we work. Now focusing on the Meghna River Basin, here is a map of the basin. A lot of you must have seen it before. It includes almost a 65,000 square kilometer of area, 60% of which is located in India and rest is in Bangladesh. As you can see from this diagram, that a lot of forest reserves of the Meghna Basin are located in the Indian side, and the land use pattern in the Bangladesh side is more linked to crop lands, and you see a lot of wetlands here, which is the Haur area of the basin, and we have Tangor Haur and Hakaliki Haur, as our regional director mentioned earlier, the 2 biodiversity sites. So as you can see, there are dependencies here upstream, downstream. What happens in the Indian side also has an impact downstream. So the way we work in the basin, how we can build cooperation. What is happening right now is that when we talk about water or rivers, we're just talking about the water, the volume of water that flows through the rivers. But what about the different types of ecosystem services that we need to conserve? How to broaden the scope of dialogue on water cooperation to include different things. And here we have developed through our learning in different basins a 6-step process of benefit sharing in a shared river basin, which starts with the identification of benefits, analyzing how those benefits could be enhanced by different countries working together, the 6-step process leading to some kind of agreement. In the Meghna Basin, we are applying a multi-level approach to create an enabling environment for inclusive governance. So at the center of our approach is what we call as the Meghna Advisory Group, and an informal group of technical people and civil society organizations and think tanks and even representatives from government who advise IUCN on how to work in the Meghna Basin, how to network and what are identify gaps in our understanding, and also trying to take learnings from the ground level to this Meghna Advisory Group platform. What we see the outcome or the outputs of this process is that improved understanding of how the different policies are working, what actions are required to improve community livelihoods in the basin, leading to the inclusive governance and creation of those enabling environment. So here is like this slide shows you some of the initiatives that is kind of implemented in by IUCN and partners in the river basin, Meghna River Basin. We started in 2018 with the multi-stakeholder dialogue and research, which led to the first report on the Meghna River Basin on benefit sharing opportunities. After that report, what we have is really started is a Meghna Advisory Group, which I already spoke about, and that advisory group has helped us in identifying the way forward and how to work in the basin. This slide basically shows a bit of different ecosystem services that is provided by the Meghna Basin, which we have understood and documented through the learning process or the consultation process. Meghna Basin includes a lot of fish sanctuaries, of Hilsa sanctuaries, breeding sites. It has Ramsar site. It has one of the wettest places on the earth, which is Cherrapunji now. Mawson Ram is regarded as one of the wettest places. So based on these learnings, what we have identified is that there are some issues in Meghna Basin which we need to work together to resolve. Of course, on the top of it is the climate change impact. As you can see, the agriculture system in the hilly region and the Surma Basin, the impact is there on the agriculture and other livelihoods. There is also forest and wetland degradation related to the changes in the land use changes in the basin. So all these things are happening, and we have identified those priority areas, and we have already started working with the think tanks and stakeholders in the basin to address those knowledge gaps. Here in this slide, you see 3 knowledge gaps in terms of improved understanding of land uses in the basin, understanding of policies and strategies for economic integration of the basin. I just wanted to show you this slide. This is a work of with our partners, particularly CEGIS in Bangladesh and NEHU in India, where we have analyzed the whole land use in the Meghna River Basin and tried to identify areas which are the hottest spot of the changes to guide the process and the further work of IUCN and TROSA partners in the basin. So the first map which you see is of the Bangladesh side, and you see some big patches of red hotspot, which basically indicates area where the land use change is very, very dynamic and very fast. This map shows you the parts of India. You see a lot of land use changes occurring in the Barak Valley region of India and in the Tripura region. So these basically help us identify that what are the areas where we need to focus to better understand what the impacts are happening. So coming back to the Meghna Knowledge Forum, today we start with the inaugural today, and it's a 3-day event, and the main objective of this forum is to address water governance challenges in the Meghna Basin. How? By supporting the identification of key knowledge gaps, facilitating potential partnerships to address those knowledge gaps, facilitating dialogues on the integrated management approaches, and discussing different themes linked to navigation, climate change, engagement. The specific outputs that we are looking at from this forum is a report which will help us in kind of this, designing our future action in the Meghna River Basin, and also a short film highlighting the main outcomes of the basin. How the 3 days are organized. So we have the high-level sessions, inaugural and the valedictory. So today, right now, we are in the inaugural session. Then every day we have one thematic plenaries. So today, after this session, we will start with the thematic plenary after lunch, which is on the geography and ecology of the Meghna River Basin. Tomorrow, we have a thematic plenary on the cultural diversity of Meghna Basin. And on day 3, we will be discussing about the ways to make governance inclusive in the Meghna Basin. Other than thematic plenaries, you can also join us for the side events. There are 4 side events planned on the day 1 and day 2. In the later half of the day, you can look at the agenda on the Kiko chart platform, or you can visit the Meghna Knowledge Forum online page for the agenda. We have also initiated the photo story contest, so please feel free to browse through the Kiko chart platform, and if you like photos, just tell us. And then we have a synthesis session on day 3, which will actually prepare the key messages from the 3 days of the session for the presentation at the valedictory. Just the last slide. Because we are talking about Meghna Knowledge Forum as our stakeholders and participants, we would also like to inform you how we see things going forward. So based on all the consolidated data that we have consolidated so far, we are using that to develop knowledge products like the Atlas of the Basin, policy analysis, a documentary on ecosystem-based adaptation, and also a meeting of the Meghna Advisory Group, which is planned later in the September of this year. These are some of the, this is my last slide, some of the publications and knowledge products that you can visit our website, and you can use these resources to have a better understanding of the basin. And yeah, so that is all. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
So thank you so much, Vishwa. I think we'll take the questions towards the end of the this session. So any participants who want to put in a question or a comment or a recommendation, please do use the tools that have already been explained to you to share your views with us. And
Archana, if I may just a second, I think it's important to explain that there's interpretation available for this event.
Right.
So participant can click on the tools bar that is at the bottom of the Zoom. You have English, you can click on English, and then you will have Japanese, which is actually, I believe, Bengali, and you will have the interpretation. Sorry, in the Zoom menu doesn't allow us to show Bengali as an option, but this is what you will have if you click on it. So I know a number of participants will prefer listening to the event on their native language. So if you don't manage to do so, please feel free to write in the chat, and I'll try to guide you individually for that. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
Thank you, Rafael, for that useful information about the interpretation being available. We would now be going into, after a brief insight into the work IUCN has been doing in the Meghna Basin and the organization of this forum to share knowledge and bring together various stakeholders and people who care for the Meghna. We will now be having our guest speakers for the day, beginning with Dr. Rajdeep Roy, who is the Member of Parliament from India, Barak Valley, Assam. I would like to briefly introduce him. Dr. Rajdeep Roy is a medical practitioner by profession. He is an orthopedic surgeon, and he, in the May of 2019, he was elected to the 17th Lok Sabha. As part of the Government of India, Member of Parliament, he is member of the Standing Committee on Health and Family Welfare, and also a member of the Consultative Committee, Ministry of External Affairs, and Committee on Ethics. So welcome, Dr. Rajdeep Roy. We request you to switch on your audio and please give us your special address. Dr. Roy?
Archana ji, there is some technical issues with Dr. Rai right now. We are trying to resolve. If it is okay, can we invite Mr. Saber, and then we can go back to Dr. Raj.
Oh, okay, Vishwa. I'll do that. Right. So while the audio issue with Dr. Roy is being sorted out, I have the pleasure of inviting our next guest speaker, Mr. Sabir Hossain Chaudhry, who is also a member of Parliament from Bangladesh. He is chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bangladesh, and president of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, Bangladesh. Mr. Sabir Hossain Chaudhry, welcome, and please, the floor is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Archana, and a very good morning, albeit virtually. Let me first acknowledge the organizers for this great initiative, and also for inviting me, Dr. Kampilan from your Bangkok office for IUCN, and your able team. And thank you, Doctor, for the kind words. Also, my appreciation to Swedish SIDA. For funding this event, and not just the event, I think the entire program and your close collaboration. I'm also delighted, in fact, I'm enthused to see Dr. Ambassador Tariq Karim, who I think has been one of our finest ambassadors, and I'm sure he's going to contribute immensely to the not just the event today, but also the future direction and policy as we go forward. So I think just looking at the subject, and this is just some introductory remarks, because I certainly don't wish to preempt the discussions that is going to take place. But to me, why this is important, if I take a few steps back, is that, whenever you have relationship between neighbors, there are challenges and there are constraints. And this is not just in this particular case of Bangladesh, India, or our neighbors. I think around the world, there are something like 276 river basins, which account for 50% of the global fresh water. And there are quite often disputes, there are disagreements. But I think here we have a really excellent opportunity to move from that normal, if you like, of challenges and constraints to one of cooperation and coordination that would in turn lead to opportunities. I think that's really the big picture as we look at it. So how do we make the transition? And this, of course, we are having this dialogue at a time when the world, I think, is more focused on nature, our relationship with nature. How do we rebuild that relationship? How can we live in harmony with nature? The fact that we are a part of nature, the fact that we as human beings are a part of the ecosystem as well as the biodiversity. So I think there is a conversation that's happening around the world. And the UN Secretary General has also, of course, declared this to be the decade of ecosystem restoration. So I think the international context is certainly very favorable to what we are doing today. And even if we look at India and Bangladesh in 2011, I believe it was September 2011, when there was this very defining framework agreement on cooperation and development between India and Bangladesh, which was signed on the Bangladesh side by our current Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, and on the Indian side, it was Dr. Manmohan Singh. And the areas that were identified there, I think it shows how visionary that agreement was in fact to do with environmental protection, was to do with climate change adaptation, was to do with the cooperation on natural disasters, advanced information. How can we assist each other in terms of flood warning and flood control? So I think those frameworks are already in place. And if we look at what we can achieve individually as a country and what we might achieve through a collaboration with our neighbors, the difference is very clear. I think it's almost like a scene from a 3D movie, which is jumping out at you. And the science is very persuasive and it's very clear. So it's a question of whether we embrace that partnership approach, create the benefits, and then share those benefits. I think that's what we are talking about. And it's a win-win proposition. Even if we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, I believe it is 6.5, it in fact talks about coordination between neighbors so that the transboundary benefits can be reaped. And of course, when you're trying to reap those benefits, the question of governance is central to that whole discourse. So not just the impacts or benefits on governance, but I think when you have transboundary cooperation, is also takes care of the other aspect, which is not to cause harm. You know, the concept of transboundary cooperation has undergone a transformation over the years. In the past, it was do no harm, but now it's moving from that to how can we actively contribute to each other. And as Bangladesh moves forward, you know, I think we are quite aspirational in where we want to see Bangladesh in the year 2041, which is going to be a historic milestone for us. And we have already earned the requirements to graduate from LDC. So as we aspire to be a more developed country, I think how we define our relationship with nature, how we preserve the wetlands, how we preserve our biodiversity, how we look at nature-based solutions, how we look at understanding the capital resources, the natural resources that we have in nature. I think these things are going to be very, very important. And I was just looking at the slides that were presented before you had requested me to speak. You know, there's a lot of work that IUCN has done. And I think it's important for us not just to create that knowledge base, but also to learn from it, to pick up elements from there to shape our policy. And this, of course, is one of the greatest challenges we have. You know, how can we have evidence-based policies? How can we have science shaping and forming our policies, enriching our policies, delivering better policies at the end of the day? So I think from all of those perspectives, this is certainly a very important event. And I look forward to what the outcomes are going to be. And not just look forward to them and read them, but actually see how we can apply and create a better future for not just Bangladesh, but for the region as a whole. I think when we look at the region, we have challenges, as I've said earlier, but I think this is an area which addresses climate change adaptation. It goes to the heart of regional stability, and of course, at the end of the day, economic development and empowerment. So a great initiative, but really how great it's going to be in reality is going to depend on how we as policymakers take it forward. I'm certainly willing to do that very happily, and I look forward to engaging with you in the future. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your special address and underlining the fact that collaboration and cooperation are the key words that jumped out to me, I think. And you also mentioned that this is underlined by science too. And as Bangladesh moves towards 2041 with an aspiration to become a developed country, you highlighted the importance of integrating nature as you go along. And that is what will make, I think, Bangladesh putting it on the path of sustainable development and progress, economic development, as well as social development. So thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Rajdeep Roy, and just to reiterate his introduction very briefly, he's a medical practitioner and with an advanced degree from United Kingdom in orthopedics. He is now currently a member of parliament from Silchar, Assam. Over to you, Dr. Roy, for your opening remarks. So you're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Is it okay now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, everybody. At the very outset, I would like to thank IUCN for the initiative called Meghna River Basin Knowledge Forum program, bound for 3 days, starting today. So, being a resident of Barak Valley, having a residence on the banks of River Barak, which is very integral to Meghna Basin, I presume that this is a very important part of the Meghna River Basin. My constituency, where I come from, is Silchar, which is situated on the bank of River Barak. This River Barak starts from the two states of India called Manipur and Mizoram, and it flows till before it flows to Bay of Bengal. It traverses almost 900 kilometers. So the flora and the fauna associated with it since time immemorial has actually lent its characteristics to this Meghna River Basin. It is very important to study this, to know this for our future generation, and lay down guidelines on how to be with nature, how to respect nature, and how to live in harmony with nature. We are going through one of the most trying times of our generation. For over a century, we have not witnessed such a pandemic. And every country is basically under threat. I, as the member of parliament, I feel very honored to be addressing this very important forum today. River Barak, as we know, has got around 6 tributaries, and the tributaries are very interesting. They are all draining fresh water from the hills around. River Barak and the Barak Valley is a valley which is surrounded by hills on all sides in the northeast. We are surrounded by the Mizoram, by the Lushai Hills, Khasi Jayantia Hills from Meghalaya. We are surrounded by, on the east, by the Manipur Hills. So what it does is that River Barak, during the time of monsoon, carries all fresh water from these 5 or 6 states of northeast, flows into Bangladesh, and then into the Bay of Bengal. After reaching the Indo-Bangladesh border around Karimanj, which is a quaint little small town on the Indo-Bangladesh border, very adjacent to my home residence. This river Barak is divided into Kushiara River and Surma River. And interestingly, this beautiful two rivers also has tributaries flowing from parts of Meghalaya and other hills of northeastern India. Now, talking about this geographical and environmental significance of Barak Valley for the river Meghna, this thing.
Requesting everyone to mute themselves, please. Yes, Dr. Roy.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you so much. The forest cover here is very interesting. It's very high percentage of forest cover in our area. It amounts to almost around, say, 60 to 70% in Barak Valley. As this goes as it enters Bangladesh, the forest cover is still there. Barak River is among the richest river in the world in terms of aquatic biodiversity, as it contains more than 100 species of fish. The Gangetic dolphin is listed as one of the endangered species on the red list of threatened species. However, there are problems with increasing population. In the last maybe 30 to 40 years, there has been a population explosion in our area from 10 lakh population, rather 1 million population, to 3.5 million population over a period of 3 decades, has put its pressure on the natural resources and its utilization. We know the mighty Brahmaputra River also flows from China through entire state of Assam and then into Bangladesh. There is a runoff in these two rivers, Barak and Brahmaputra, as it is a flood-prone area. On the banks of river, we still have blastings which kills the fish, and this is very common, and it has threatened the biodiversity of Barak River, which ultimately affects the flora and fauna of the Meghna River Basin. There is lack of, interestingly, I am constrained to say that there has been a lack of conservation awareness amongst the people. There has been encroachment on the reserve forest. There has been shortage of human resources, especially in the forest department. We as a government, we have our challenges. We are a very new country. And in the last 70 years, we have learned from our experiences how to go about it. There has been a large-scale encroachment also in the forest areas by civil population. I presume that we will come around in a few years' time. Maybe this session, which we'll be having in the next 2 days, will give us direction of how to go about since this. Someone before me has spoken of the Indo-Bangladesh water treaty. I presume the effort which was started by our previous Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh, taken forward Dr. Narendra Modi ji. So we presume that Indo-Bangladesh water treaty encompassing all agreement will be fulfilled in the next few years' time, hopefully with the active participation and consensus amongst all stakeholders. All the stakeholders need to come together, need to work together for better understanding so that this has a long-lasting effect on the development and also on conservation of natural resources. Development and conservation need to balance.
So we can't hear you. So we cannot hear you.
Is it okay now?
Yes, yes, now.
So what I was saying is that we have to talk of solution, and the solution should come from bright minds from conferences like this. We need. Is it okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
We need to have solutions. And as I was saying, this solution should come from conferences like this, from bright minds who participate in this conference. How can we take forward and how can we solve our pending issues? What is that we can give to our next generation? Hence, we need to conserve this Meghna River Basin for our future generation, because this is one of the most interesting biodiversity around South and Southeast of Asia. In this regard, I wish this Barak Meghna river system will have an important bearing in the integrated management of Meghna River Basin. I wish this conference all the luck. I hope that whatever paper, whatever deliberation, debates and discussion go on will come out in a written form, and it will be circulated to all for us to carry it in different forums, so that we can, in these trying times, we can go back to our nature and preserve nature. I thank you again for having me here as a guest on this very important
Thank you so much, Dr. Roy. Thank you so much for your special address and wishing the Meghna Knowledge Forum all success. You also highlighted the importance of collaboration and cooperation, and while you highlighted the challenges that are being faced by the Barak River and its tributaries, there are also solutions which can be arrived through more awareness among the communities and better management of the river. So therefore, I think the Meghna Knowledge Forum will open the window for the ascertaining the knowledge gaps that occur in the understanding of the Barak-Meghna river system and how to manage this in an integrated manner such that it benefits not only the biodiversity but also the communities which are highly dependent on these rivers. So thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite our next guest speaker who needs no introduction, Ambassador Tariq Karim. And sir, we all know you have been known to, I think, most of the people who may be tuned into this Meghna Knowledge Forum. Sir has been the ambassador to India from Bangladesh from 2009 to 2014. And currently he is Director, Center for Bay of Bengal Studies at Independent University, Bangladesh. He has worn so many hats, it will take me a lot of time to go through that. He is an experienced regional advisor with a demonstrated history of success in fostering regional cooperation and at working in the regional connectivity, trade and development industry. He has played a seminal role in qualitatively improving the tone, tenor, and substance of Bangladesh-India relations, dramatically reconfiguring them for the better. He also creatively initiated the process for embarking on sub-regional cooperation by Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. Sir, welcome to the Meghna Knowledge Forum, and we request you to address us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Salam Alaikum, Namaskar to everyone. I thank the IUCN for inviting me to the inaugural session of the Meghna Knowledge Forum 2021 and for sharing my thoughts. It is indeed a privilege for me to be sharing the same virtual platform as my compatriot and good friend, Mr. Sabir Hussain Chaudhry, MP and Chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change, Dr. Rajdeep Roy, Member of Parliament of the Indian Parliament from Silchar, Assam, Dr. P. Shakil Ahmed, Principal Secretary for Water Resources of the Government of Meghalaya, and of course, from the IUCN, Dr. Dindo Kampilan, the Asia Director, and his regional colleague, Mr. Rakibul Amin, and Mr. Vishwa Ranjan Sinha, and Ms. Archana Chatterjee. My congratulations to IUCN for organizing this event and to SIDA for their supportive role. I've had the privilege of having been associated with IUCN's Meghna Basin dialogues in 2020 and earlier, in its similar dialogues on the Brahmaputra and other river basins of the Eastern Himalayan rivers. I find it refreshingly encouraging that IUCN continues to remain proactively engaged in sustaining its endeavors in promoting sub-regional cooperation and collaboration between India and Bangladesh on the Meghna River basins that are of existential importance to us. In the last few years, Bangladesh and India have achieved phenomenal success in reconfiguring the relationship from being one of distance and mutual mistrust to transforming into trusting friendship and mutually beneficial cooperation that will help enormously in their common goals of poverty eradication. Accepting conceptually that it is essential to expand cooperation from the strictly bilateral to a larger sub-regional paradigm, not just in trade and connectivity, but more importantly now engaging in discussing shared rivers management and hydro energy harvesting has been one of the most remarkable outcomes of this new relationship between Bangladesh and India, enunciated first in the framework agreement of September 2011, to which Mr. Sabir Hussain Chaudhry referred. The new sub-regional cooperation paradigm that has emerged since then has not been without challenges. Nevertheless, what are challenges if they cannot be addressed with a view to resolving them amicably and to mutual benefit? I have been engaged in track 2 and track 1.5 dialogues on the collaborative management of the Brahmaputra River Basin with participants from India, Bhutan, and China since mid-2008 until very recently, before the onset of COVID pandemic disrupted normal life. The Brahmaputra Basin involves 4 countries sharing this transnational river, making the dialogue process very complex, but I was immensely pleased to see a gradual convergence of views beginning to emerge on many facets of the subjects under consideration. However, it is inevitably hostage to the complex political dynamics flowing from the different sets of relations among the 4 participating countries. The Meghna Basin is a sub-basin of the vast Brahmaputra Basin. It embraces both Bangladesh and the states of Meghalaya and Assam and India. Happily, Bangladesh-India relations are friendly and stable, and while we may face occasional squalls and turbulence in our waters, I'm confident that the mainstream will remain steadfast. The northeast states of India, along with Nepal and Bhutan, are looked upon as being landlocked. But this is a narrative only 75 years old. Most people, including peoples of these countries, forget that they were always water-linked. That water-linked narrative is millennia old and predates the current narrower narrative. For better or worse, our destinies are intertwined. We cannot turn our eyes away from them as they cannot from us. We can only grow and develop together. It is my hope that through collaborating on our shared commons that are our water basins and the related ecosphere, our sub-regional cooperation framework will transform into a slowly but surely expanding grid of symbiotic interdependence. These interdependencies will interlock the growing cooperation and make it an irreversible process, demanding continuous expansion irrespective of political affiliations in any of the comprising units. We have a framework for sub-regional cooperation comprising Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. Conceivably, we may even dream of extending even to embracing Myanmar, transforming millions of lives and converting the sub-region into a major engine of growth. What is in place already presents an exemplary model for emulation by others in a larger region. There can be no looking back now. A water basin is the bedrock of a core component of a shared ecosphere. To harvest and benefit from its vast potentials, still mostly latent or untapped, we need to view and address it holistically. I learned one of my most important lessons in water basin management in 1989 when I was in China. The Water Resources Secretary of Bangladesh was visiting China then, and I accompanied him and his delegation to meet his counterpart. As a conversation starter, I asked the Chinese Vice Minister, quote, "Excellency, how did you tame your river of sorrows, the Huanghe River?" His one-word, laconic response with an inscrutable face was manpower. When pressed to explain, he said to the effect, "We tried over countless centuries to tame the river, but all our efforts were either sidestepped or destroyed by the river. We finally understood that the river is a force of nature. It has its own personality, and man cannot ever hope to tame it. However, it can be trained, but that training cannot be done in bits and pieces. It is but only holistically, simultaneously, from the headwaters to the mouth. We have a large population, and we mobilized the population along the entire course of the river to train the river in a coordinated and holistic manner. We have not tamed the river because every now and then it still wreaks its fury, but it is manageable because training has mitigated its most damaging effects." It was at that point of time, and I'll never forget that conversation and that moment, a light bulb flashed insistently in my own mind. China could train its river and glean benefits from that because the river was entirely within the country's national bounds. The problem was our rivers was that we had partitioned the rivers along with the land in 1947 and abjured from collaborative management of the rivers as we were wont to earlier. Only coordinated collaboration in a holistic manner could help us resolve our problems. Now, environmental and ecological phenomenon transcend political borders and can only be addressed through cooperation, cooperative interlocution, and cooperative action by the several parties affected. Since the dynamics of our shared environment and ecosphere commons are also very likely to become the drivers of economic and social development, solutions can only be found through a holistic approach that embraces cooperation by all regional stakeholders. The Eastern Himalayan rivers affect the lives of millions of people who inhabit the most densely populated geographic region of Indian subcontinent, comprising Bangladesh, Northeast India, Bhutan, and Nepal, and of course, Sikkim and West Bengal. Collaborating on holistic basin management in Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, and Nepal of associated shared commons, water resources, and forestry would transform what appears to be a daunting challenge into an opportunity with vast consequences for the countries and their inhabitants. It must necessarily engage proactively with the people who inhabit the countless towns, cities, villages, and restore to them a sense of ownership and pride in their shared commons. Opening the rivers to better and more optimized use of river transportation in turn will open new service sectors and industries. Dying rivers would be revived, progressive siltation of riverbeds would be reduced, and the ecology resuscitated. The generation of hydroelectricity would also serve the purpose of rendering surplus hydrocarbon resources for intra-regional use or exports abroad. They would also dramatically reduce the current rate of deforestation. The regeneration of forestry and increasing forest coverage would create new and enhance existing carbon sequestration zones and oxygenation of the atmosphere. We are at the cusp of transforming these mighty rivers that nurture and sustain our ecosystem from continuing to be rivers of confrontation and conflict that they have become over 7 decades into rivers of cooperation and nurturing comfort and our well-being. Let us seize the moment, not lose or squander it. However, existing political mindsets that fuel and are fueled in turn by lack of sufficient information being available to the general public, there would first have to be consciously addressed and overcome by coordinated efforts to inform all stakeholders and woo their support, be they the local people who are directly affected, local opinion molders and decision makers, and political leaderships at local, national, and regional levels. Unless all these stakeholders perceive a sense of shared ownership, the motivation to join in will simply not be there. This process would be immensely facilitated by studies that are jointly undertaken, quantifying for local relevance how many households in how many villages in which areas would be beneficiaries of these multi-purpose activities and their end products, whether they would be protective embankments, rural infrastructure development that would spin off increased commercial activities, or power generation that would qualitatively improve lives. Conserving precious forestry resources and optimizing agricultural activities without degrading the soil through imaginative and innovative diversification in crop rotation and fisheries exploitation would be a natural outcome of such efforts. The wheel does not have to be reinvented. Quite possibly a plethora of such studies already exist, but they are fragmented and in disjointed format. They would need to be collated as far as possible and integrated together cohesively to make sense comprehensively to local and larger audiences at the same time. I do believe initiatives like the IUCN's Meghna Knowledge Forum 2021 would facilitate in helping policymakers across transnational borders arrive at well-informed, people-friendly policies that would not only protect our shared ecosphere and environment, but also help us prosper and grow. I wish your deliberations today and the next 2 days and your endeavors going forward all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Tariq Karim. I think the important key points that you highlighted about the sub-regional cooperation moving forward in the right direction. There are challenges, but there are also opportunities for collaborative development, which will enhance the opportunities for the people of the region as a whole. It will also be important to consider that river is a force of nature, as you said. It cannot be tamed, but it can be trained. Benefits can be designed and shared from the various services that it provides. For this, a coordinated collaborative effort in a holistic manner is very important. You also mentioned the shared commons in BBIN, how we should engage proactively the people to unlock the real potential of these rivers, which will benefit us all. And as has been highlighted in the economic development, which is a key component, as well as social development. So thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks. I would like to reiterate one point before I move to our next guest speaker, that the translation of the whole session is available, live translation in English and Bengali. So for Bengali translation, I guess you have to push the Japanese interpretation button, so you can listen in Bengali. So now I would like to move on to our next guest speaker, Dr. Shakil Ahmed, who is the Principal Secretary, Water Resources, Fisheries, Food and Civil Supplies, Government of Meghalaya in India. Briefly, I would like to introduce him. Dr. Shakil Ahmed has 26 years of administrative experience, being an Indian Administrative Service Officer of the 95 batch. He has experience of working at the state, central, public sector units, as well as private sector. A postgraduate in medicine with masters from University of Texas and leadership and strategic training from Judges School, University of Cambridge and Maxwell School of Policy Studies, Syracuse. He has contributed significantly in the field of horticulture, agriculture, tourism, power, and received international awards. One for the universalization of household electrification from UK for successfully completing the electrification of 26 million households in India, and another one from UNESCO, award for the best community tourism project, and a national award for best IT project in 2004. Dr. Shakil Ahmed, the floor is yours. You do have a PowerPoint. Should I, sir, share the screen for you?
We'll do it. We'll do it.
Sure,
yeah,
sure, sir.
We are sharing it. Very good morning to everybody. In fact, advantage of being the last batsman in the 2020 matches, you expect me to finish faster than I can play a little bit of a risky hits also. My esteemed panelist, Dr. Kampilan, Ms. Hossa Hechne, Dr. Roy, Honorable Member of Parliament, Mr. Hussain, again, Honorable Member of Parliament, Ambassador Ahmed Tariq Karim, other colleagues from IUCN. In fact, the theme and the topic sounded very big for a small state like Meghalaya. I almost feel like I'm in a large barrel of honey of this part of the world with a single drop of Cherrapunji honey, which is known globally, the orange honey from Cherrapunji. It is sweeter, tastier, and it is practically extracted. We live in a scenario where air is very costly. and very difficult to get. If we don't protect our nature, our environment, the water is also going to be far more difficult to get. And if we spoil the soil, I think the food is going to be scarce and difficult to get. With this thing, I just try to go through a small presentation. Ours is a very small state, almost 23,000 square kilometer bordering Bangladesh. We have tried, sort of tested, and partly succeeded in doing a community-based river basin management system on a livelihood sustainable model. I'm proud to be part of an agency called Meghna Basin Development Agency, where I worked as a Deputy Director General 10 years ago. Came back to the state again, got the similar departments for last 2.5 years. So let's hope that the Meghna River Basin and other basins across the globe can lead to sustainability and survival of every species. And this has to be the cornerstone of policy making, the practice, and future plans for the planet. We made a small project by name called Water, Life and Livelihood is there. It is an integrated project on community-based riverine conservation, fish conservation and ecotourism. This is our snapshot of how did we come to this. See, Meghna, though it's a small state, out of our 18 relatively bigger rivers, 10 of them drain into Meghna Basin, 8 of them into Brahmaputra. We do have the biodiversity hotspots. We have very rich diversity. Ours is like 5 agroclimatic zone, even within such a limited thing, which helps us to grow trout also, mahasir also, carp also, and chana fish also. So this is what such a small place can offer, from about 300 meters up to 2,500 meters of elevation. We thought of the sanctuary as a outcome of wanton killing and poisoning of rivers, which happened all across the globe. So we established it with an expectation that this would really pave way for protecting the endangered species. And before that, it's very interesting that even before Mekong conservation came in, it's very interesting, any project which is started by the community, facilitated by the government, do survive more. This sanctuary, which we are discussing, the 7901, which we have here in our state, the oldest one, which way back in 1955, started in near Amlaram, in a river called Amlaye, in a village called Nongbare. Interestingly, the solution came out of a conflict, because as you all know, the river poisoning happens down in many places. So there's a term called shocking brew. Use the poison berry to poison the river and have a bigger catch. So this dispute occurred between the rivers, either side of the river of Nongbare Rim and Nongbare Lintiar. They started poisoning using insecticide or even using the poisonous berries. But fortunately, the local headman, the village headman called the Lingdo, he had far more thoughtfulness, far more farsightedness. He stopped poisoning, he stopped overfishing, and he protected the river and restricted and regulated fishing, which resulted way back in 1955, the first of its kind in this part of the world, a community originated, community organized, community managed fish sanctuary in East Khasi Hills, in Khasi Hills, that is precisely in the West Jaintia Hills district, which borders Bangladesh also. Subsequent to that, we had something in Simsang, which is Garo Hills in 1967. In a district called Ampati, the local administration started doing water protection schemes, which is now even a migratory birds even come to. In 2001, and the river Ranikot, again bordering Bangladesh, in a river called Umni, there was a major event called Aqua Fantasia, preventing and protecting the river and the fishes in the rivers. Subsequent to that was in certain rivers like Kinshi and also in Simsang in 2002. In 2011, state government took an initiative providing support and infrastructure facilities for these potential hubs of these water bodies in the state. So why do we need to have sanctuaries? It will not only protect, the pollution will be prevented, overexploitation will be controlled, it provides the most valuable breeding ground. It enhances and preserves the aquatic biodiversity. It increases abundance of threatened fish species. It improves livelihood for the local people. The most important thing I find is, unless and until we sort of intertwine the conservation with the livelihood for the local host community, and once you make that matchmaking, it will survive on its own. It becomes definitely on an autopilot mode. It will also protect other aquatic species as flora and fauna or whole ecosystem. These are the, I'm sure most of your hydrology expert, conservation expert would know. I'm just a medical doctor, but with very basic understanding only. But these are the protocol which we generally follow. It has to be in a natural environment, minimum of human interference. There has to be minimum of 1.5 to 2 meters, because you all know ours is a hilly terrain. So if you don't have in the winter seasons at least 2 meters of depth in the water, it's pointless. Site should be not threatened by any future development activities of the government. They should be slow in water current, need not be stagnant, and it should have a diverse stock of variety of fishes like mahas and other endemic like Gara, Dania, Chana, and the local species. It should have good variety and productivity in terms of plants, planktons, and other invertebrates, which will support the fish population. And it also should be in a location where overexploitation of commercial fishing should not be happening. And the last two are the PEG, and the most important, according to my understanding, the community-based organizations should be organized bodies which have a past record, experience, willingness, and commitment in conservation, and they must be committed to protect and maintain the sanctuaries after completion. This made our sanctuaries, which was initially 29, it became 79, and all of them are surviving. And now we plan to scale it up, which I'll come in the subsequent slides. One more important thing is selection of this site, subject to technical requirement, has to be done and chosen by the local communities themselves. Because then only it will survive, because the land use pattern has to be a long-term decision, so that we don't sort of interfere with the long-term activity of conservation. The management strategy is also very, very critical, because by and large, we should really look into the project of conservation and protection as a community-driven project. If it is just a time-bound, target-based project, it will not survive. It is not a completion of financial target or physical target. It is a completion of, it's an ongoing task of a futuristic task for the survival. So our management strategy is revolved around CG, that is conservation, community, and government. Conservation is the concept, mutually agreed. Community is the pivot and the central role, and government acts as a facilitator across the departments. So here we have to do a survey, site identification, checking the fish stock, resources, production trend, habitat available, how do you exploit the fish, overexploitation happening or not, then whether the community is willing to have the long-term commitment. Then we get into awareness creation, which is long-lasting. It is not only sensitization on biodiversity and conservation. We have to have workshop, we have to have meetings, pamphlets, small booklets, campaigns, and working with the community. Then we identify and demarcate the sanctuary with proper care and delineation that these places won't be used for any other purpose. Washing or local uses will have to be restricted there. Then you have to have proper signboard, map, location, safety identification, safety direction, do's and don'ts. And it has to be strictly implemented too. Having done this, you need to sort of adhere to this. For that, to implement that, you may have to have sanctuary guards, you have to have river guards, and you have to keep watch and ward in all the vulnerable spots, employing or involving local youth. Once you've done that, you need to do regular assessment of the entire thing, like what has been the siltation, water level, water quality, and the fish catch happening in the nearby surrounding areas, upstream and downstream, and what is the benefit accrued by host community, whether that benefit is actually sort of inspiring them, instilling them confidence and faith to continue the conservation and expand it further. This is how we plan it further. Now, since we have this almost 79 sanctuaries spotted all across the state, now is a new concept which we are doing, which in principle we got approval from the federal government already, is that we link few of the adjacent sanctuaries together. We named it something like a pearl of necklace, because last time I went to Cox's Bazar, I could manage to buy a lot of lovely pearls, beautiful one and quite affordable. So this effect on stock rejuvenation, improving the captive fishing, attracting the tourists, what we decided is the stretch between Tura and Williamnagar, these two districts in Garo Hills, about 80 to 100 kilometers. We have recreated that into a string of pearl of sanctuaries. 6 sanctuaries are established, are linked together, which includes the first sanctuary, which was in Romba Grey. Map is there, and this is the one you see below is the pristine Simsang River, which is one of the longest river drains into Bangladesh through Baghmara. This is integrated ecotourism concept, as I'm sure this is a little academic, but just for the clarity, identification happens. Now we have location where you have additional livelihood avenues. Then you have, it's going to cover 2 districts. Initially, we are going to expand it all across the state. This is just a pilot phase we are doing. This has helped rejuvenating huge chunk of a species of chocolate mahasir, golden mahasir, etc. And one thing I should say to my friends and colleagues, our breeding program has benefited more Bangladesh and Assam, our neighboring state and our esteemed neighboring country, because at the colder climate after breeding, they do migrate to warmer waters. At least in the rivers, there is no boundary. These are string of pearls we named. This as bouquet of opportunities are actually actual things happening in the place called Simsang Grey, the Simsang River, and a place called Balsam Grey. I worked in the district. What we are doing now is converging the conservation and sanctuary with the tourism, with community rural development, giving employment to the local people and water resource in protecting water, and promoting community participation and dovetailing of fund and enhancing livelihood avenues. Here again, we are doing maintenance and management to the communities, technical support by the departments and overall district administration. It has really given a lot of economic avenues, and each of these sanctuaries is expected to give minimum of 50 families, and these are giving interpretation centers, catch and release, ex-situ conservation, camping sites, kayaking, rowing, and in future, of course, the picture speaks for themselves. This, of course, I'm sure all of us are familiar with. Just for the geographical sense of it, the district which I mentioned, you can read that is East Garo Hills come to South Garo Hills and drains into Bangladesh, and also northern part it gets into Assam from these 2 of the main basins which we drain into, and the location of our state. I just want to show you that. You may ask, what is the cost? So the entire cost of this initial 6 sanctuaries linking together, which we got an in-principle approval of our federal government, is about 5.3 crores Indian rupees. Each sanctuary is costing us to establish approximately 5 lakhs of Indian rupees. When we really do it, the returns and dividends are amazingly good, and it gives far more future for people and the community to conserve it, protect it, and expand it. Many of the single sanctuaries are expanded into 4 or 5 in the locality. If you go to Garo Hills, they even start using a term of wari. Wari is actually a sanctuary. So they do have so many waris all across. They protect it. To protect that, they preserve the forest. They conserve forest. To conserve forest, I mean, this all thing happened, and the Meghalaya can boast of 70% forest cover is because of the community awareness. And we do have sacred forest, which is protected by the people. I think the people are more important in the entire planning of things, policy, and implementation. If they are convinced, conservation will take the correct, right path and into the future. I think we have almost crossed 9 minutes. I mean, though it's a small state and all across the globe, this is true. We have enough for our need, but not for our greed. This is my small presentation. Any further thing, I may answer you in the subsequent thing. And in case you all have any suggestion or comments to make or advice, you're most welcome. We all live in a very precarious situation where even the oxygen is precious. I think if you don't do things today, our coming generation will find it extremely difficult for water and even for food, because salinity, acidity. I worked in agriculture department quite long years. It really reflects very badly if we don't plan and conserve today. I mean, tomorrow our children or grandchildren will say, what kind of people lived in the past who are totally unconcerned about the nature? I think we should not give a chance, and we should not let our kids or children carry oxygen cylinder on the back to school along with the school bags and come back thirsty without having proper water and go to bed without having adequate food for want of our farsightedness, our commitment, our willingness to work together and help all of us in an endeavor to make this world safer, healthier, happier, and prosperous. May God bless each one of you to have a peaceful, healthy life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shakeel Ahmed, for your inspiring and motivating presentation, showcasing what the communities with little government support can achieve in a very big way in terms of establishing community fish sanctuaries, community-based fish sanctuaries, and which not only benefits the communities but also the neighboring states as well as downstream in a transboundary context. So thank you so much. And although Meghalaya is a very small state, but I think it's a very, very critical state for the Meghna Basin, because whatever happens in the upstream in Meghalaya has its, the echoes downstream in Bangladesh and other states. So it's very, very important. And I think under your leadership, the fisheries example that you have given and other work that MBDA is doing is really noteworthy. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on the subject. I would like to now invite Mr. Rakibul Amin to present the formal vote of thanks. Mr. Rakibul Amin is the country representative from our Bangladesh country office of IUCN. Rakib, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Archana. I would like to extend our sincere thanks to our guest of honors, Mr. Sabir Hussain Chaudhary, Member of Parliament, Dr. Rajdeep Roy, Member of Parliament from India, our Ambassador Tariq Karim, and Dr. Shakeel Ahmed for joining at this inaugural session of the Meghna Knowledge Forum. Over the past 3 years, IUCN have been promoting a benefit sharing strategy for Meghna River Basin and generated numerous knowledge products along with other partners. It is great to see that knowledge, evidence, and interest that we have generated are coming together in this knowledge forum with the presence of political leaders, government officials, community men, women, and youth from both Bangladesh and India. This knowledge forum, in a sense of what IUCN represent. We have the neutral convening power, and we can link the local knowledge to global knowledge, linking local to regional and global. I would like to reiterate what Mr. Sabarusan Chaudhuri has mentioned. He mentioned that we should focus on not only on challenges, but the opportunity, which is again the essence of benefit sharing approach that we have been advocating for the last few years. Dr. Rajdeep Roy has highlighted the significance of Meghna Basin in terms of creating the freshwater ecosystem in India and Bangladesh. He pointed out that despite the richness, conservation awareness in the basin is not adequate and need to be improved. I would like to work more towards that. Ambassador Karim has eloquently presented the opportunities we have in the region by saying that our destinies are intertwined and we need to prosper together. Dr. Shakil Ahmed, mind-blowing presentation talking about the power of people, and if any project is designed with the people, by the people, it always sustains. This is also the essence of IUCN's activities on the ground. We take great inspiration from all our guests of honors and their valuable speeches and the direction. I would like to thank Swedish government for their support to Transboundary Rivers of South Asia program, and especially this Meghna Knowledge Forum. We are grateful to Ms. Wasa Haynes for her presence and inaugural session on behalf of the Swedish government. Special thanks to our partner, Oxfam, who have been working jointly with us in the Meghna Basin and leading the TROSA program since 2017. We have received tremendous support from our partners, Arunok, Asia Center for Development, Asia Confluence, Bulipara Foundation, Broti, CNRS, CARTS International, IEG, IELO, Nodi Odhikar Manch, Prakritio Jibon Foundation, Nehu, Riverine People, University of Guwahati, and Waterkeepers Bangladesh. We are also grateful to our media partners, Channel I, Business Standard, and Third Pole. I would like to thank our regional director, Dr. Dindo Kampilan of IUCN Asia, for his guidance in organizing this knowledge forum. Dr. Dindo highlighted the potential of Meghna Basin in terms of its significant offer of ecosystem services and socioeconomic services through globally significant landscapes. I must thank my colleague, Vishwaranjan Sinha, who has been instrumental in organizing this knowledge forum, and my colleague, Rafael Glamet, who is leading the water program of IUCN Asia. And also, I must thank my colleague, Archana Chatterjee, for anchoring this program. Lastly, I would like to thank all the participants of Meghna Knowledge Forum and attendees of today's inaugural session. We hope to have you throughout the forum and enrich with your contribution, comments, and participation. Now I'd like to hand over to my colleague, Vanessa, who will talk about photo story contest of the forum. Over to you, Vanessa.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rakib. And good day, everyone. I am Vanessa Carriedo, the Regional Communications Officer of IUCN Asia, and I'm very happy to be part of this forum, one of the biggest gatherings of water experts and professionals in transboundary river management in Asia. So the Meghna River Basin hosts a stunning kaleidoscope of ecosystems and species, and this picturesque views inspired us to include a photo story contest in this forum to capture the beauty and stories of the 29 river tributaries flowing from India to Bangladesh. And now may I kindly ask Sandra to let us in the photo gallery and see our submissions for our Meghna Knowledge Forum photo story contest. Sandra?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the conference. If you give me one moment, I will begin to share my screen and show you photos. Great. So we are here in the events space, and there are several tabs. If you would like to go visit on your own, please feel free to click on the photo contest here, this tab, the fourth tab in, and then you can see all of the submissions so far. And if you'd like to vote on any of the submissions,
Sorry,
you can.
One second. I think interpreters need to close their mic.
Okay.
Yes, Sandra, please.
Great. So if anybody would like to vote on these photographs, please feel free to find a heart located on the top left, and I can vote here, and I can scroll down and see more photographs, title, who it was submitted by. These are wonderful photographs. And again, see all these wonderful submissions, and please do vote on them.
Yeah, to date, we have more than 30 submissions showcasing the life and culture in the rivers of the Meghna River Basin. So just to reiterate, to vote, visit the gallery and click the heart icon, and Vilda, you have casted your vote. And we will be accepting entries until tomorrow, the second day of the forum, as the winners will be announced on the last day of the MKF 2021 on Thursday, 24th of June. So submit your entries or cast your votes now, as exciting prizes await our winners. And thank you so much. Moving on, we will be having our plenary thematic sessions and side events after lunch. So stay tuned to MKF 2021 and see you in one of the parallel sessions. Thank you so much.
Yes, Vanessa. Hello, Vanessa and everyone.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Vishwa. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so we will start with the next session at 13:30 India time or 2 o'clock Dhaka time. So the next section will be the thematic plenary session on the culture system and ecology of the Meghna River Basin. So please join us back after the lunch, have a good lunch, and see you back during the thematic plenary session 1 for the day 1. After thematic plenary.
Mr. Victor, I think there are 2 questions people posted in the chat box. Should
Yeah,
I
sure, sir. Yes, sir. Sure. I think one question is regarding the traditional knowledge, how the traditional knowledge was applied. So please.
Yeah. In fact, if I may be allowed to highlight it, I think one of my colleagues is also there. And
Sandra, can you put the spotlight on Dr. Shakti?
No, it's okay. That's why initially I mentioned in every local village areas, they do have some sort of knowledge which they hand over from generation to generation. There are certain do's and don'ts, and the community has their own varied roles to play to protect nature. It has been happening. So in our case, the ultimate decision of where the sanctuary is going to be, this is decided not by the government agency nor by this thing. It is done by the villagers, done by the community. In that case, it helps us to really incorporate their ethos and their preferences also into that. The second thing which he asked is, how do we keep motivating people beyond the government support? Because many of the projects, once the government withdraw, the whole project crumbles down. Because the biggest error there is, the whole project is designed on a support of the government. Whereas our sanctuary projects are not sort of keeled on the government support. That's why we initially also I mentioned very clearly, we don't pick any village just like that, because the village which have that inclination and which can be trained and sort of upgraded for continuous, consistent running of the project. They are the one who are selected. And right to the word go, we instill in them that this is your project. Government support is very limited. It can come as a one-time thing. The whole thing has to be managed, operated, and maintained by the village. So hence what happens is, in many cases, some of our videos are there. If anybody really want to have a clarity, there's a video with this project is facilitated by us, actually run by the community. The community leaders are all even listening. I can even ask him to speak for 2 minutes if you people like. How did he make it sustainable? It's like this: any site, village community adopts and makes some stalls and whatever is marketable. That is leased out by the community to the local people. They run the thing, they pay back the lease, and the whole community benefits out of it. So this works on a pure business model by the community, and government support is not mandatory, and it is not manipulative on the whole paradigm of development there. Ours is very limited role. Even now, I should say, the project is running and successful because of the community. So if you permit, Mr. Oliver, are you there? Can you just ask Oliver? Mr. Yes, Oliver Kapu, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Can you just ask our community leader to speak? The question is he fully dependent on government, or how is he sustaining it as a business thing? Ask him to specifically speak that. Let him speak in Garo. You can translate, Oliver. I'm sorry, my community leader speaks in his mother tongue, but my officer will translate. Yeah, please do. Over to you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you can kindly focus on Maya.
Question around last one is communication from Sakaiman, but last one from manage Kayama.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, carry on.
Yes, yes.
Village local committee ni kita committee ko source haria aro ya kama decision kon yako fishing sanctuary ko rakhi na kata antang tangan dengtang macam yako maka kamko kacenga ini zaman asa yako local body ni kita kani zaman asa ra ya department fishery department aro dengtang tang department ang baksa bakrami kamko ka.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Oliver, you tell
Yes.
me how do they manage it with or without government support? How sustainable it is? How do they made it that way? That you elaborate. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yes, sir. He has already answered that all things they have already initiated from the village level itself. And then the fish sanctuary which they have done, they have been doing it for a very long time, but they could not do on their own. So what they have done is they have come into collaboration with the government of Meghalaya, and then they have initiated the conservation of that particular fish sanctuary. They did not receive any, they did not conserve the fishes just because only for the sake of scheme, but they have done on their own itself, but for better support from the government, they have collaborated with the government of Meghalaya. That is what he's saying.
Yeah, if I may supplement, any of your panelists can visit some of our sanctuaries which I mentioned. It is on the YouTube. I shared the video. It is almost it's incumbent upon the tourism department to support the village, because these are beautiful touristic sites. You can see fishes all across. No videos have been photoshopped. Yesterday, my colleague Oliver went himself and took underground photography. So please have a look at it. These are natural conservation benefiting the community. Is actually community driven mostly. My role and Oliver's role is just to help them and support them, whichever way we can. They survive and sustain with or without us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think this was the kind of a spice of the session today, bringing community from the ground and discussing how they can sustainably work with the a local initiative. And it's a very important point that you raised on the role of the governments, that government will not be always there. It's the community who has to kind of drive the things. So with this, I think I would like to close this session. And again, thank you all. And sir, I mean, if possible, if your team member can just put this video in the chat box, then we can run that video, or you can just email us and we can run it during the breaks and networking breaks. So with this, I just close the session here and see you all back in at 13:30 or 1:30 India time or 2 p.m. Dhaka time for the thematic plenary session 1, the first
Only that
technical session.
you're providing only web-based lunch. Anyway, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir. Sorry for that. Maybe we will have something better in the next 3-4 months. So bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.